Hey guys, how you doing? It's Rick down here in beautiful Key West, Florida. Have you guys noticed that you can see whether or not it's changed, that the weather's starting to change? You know, I have this grapevine that I've been growing, and I bought it as an already little 3 year old plant, and so it grew, had all this climb all around one side and down the other side of this house that I'm living in, this apartment. Blew pretty, but now it's low starting to shed its leaves. I was sure hoping that it would bloom and make things, but I guess we got another year to wait on, see whether or not it comes alive. But that's how some of these things, these fruit and trees and fruit and bushes, have to live a couple of years before they can put out anything for us to eat. It's very cool. But anyways, that's just a quick little something off of the side. But it just seems like the weather's already changing, and I just had this little feeling, just a little feeling. Now, in the cemetery, when I used to work in the cemetery, what you would get is there's a little clacking up. There's like in the stillness of things, there still be some kind of a breeze blowing that causes the pieces, the individual leaves on a coconut tree, the long, skinny little things off of the coconut, palm frond. They kind of wiggle together and they make a little. But you could hear that, you could feel it, you could see it, and you knew change of season was coming. You could that's how you know it. And I was out in the cemetery working for about 8 years. Good long time, 7 or 8 years. Good long time. It's still one of my favorite places in the whole city. It's a cemetery. Okay, well, talking about death, and cemeteries, that's the whole world around us is just one giant place for dead people to have a great time in and stuff like that. So I was going to do a couple of little wedding situations, I wanted to talk about them. I don't have to really read them. I can tell you about them. But just not so long ago, we just did Amos. And one of Amos's stories talks about if there be 10 men in one house, someone's got to die, you know. And when then they carry this person off, when that person dies and he's got 10 men in his house, all right? So you have to understand the coding in this is so beautiful, but he says, what will happen is that his uncle will bring him up. He's going to burn his bones. And that's going to be the spiritual side of him that's supposed to be coming up instead of the dead carcass. Because he's asked, he says, well, is anybody with you? And he says, oh, no, I'm sorry, it didn't work. Do you realize what that means? Do you hear the information that this Bible, the spiritual side of our Bible, is revealing through the scripture? It's saying that if you don't come up to this heaven while you're alive, with your spirit intact and your body intact, because your soul's going up, but it's the body part. What happened to that? Where's that guy? We're supposed to be judging this guy. We're supposed to be ready to fix. We're supposed to be putting the hammers to that motherfucker. And you didn't bring him up. And he said, well, we're not going to be talking about God today. That's what goes on. It says, this ain't working. This ain't working. There is no heaven available to people who don't do what they're supposed to do, and you're gone. Your uncle brings you up. That's because your brother died with you. So an uncle has to come up. Another part of the family is represented here. Hey, did you bring anybody else up with you? No, just me. He said, well, forget it. Forget it. All right. Now, let's erase that part of this for a bit. All right. Not erase, but let's a new one. What do we do? I wish I had some kind of a bell to ring. Change the subject. And talk about creepy things. One of these stories has this idea, And we're going to get into this 5 and 5 again, this 10 in one house thing. We're going to get into that later, okay? But basically, the idea is that it's representing the mind, and it's mind, the what would be considered the good and the bad side. We're both represented by the male side, and so that's what kills you. That makes you a one-minded person. You have a grievous head wound, and and that's it. You just didn't make it over here at all. That's what you. If that's how it goes. You come into this world dead, you leave dead, but you want to learn how to try to get alive, and that's what this Bible's talking about. How to get alive. And everyone's talking about being dead all the time. It's just terrible, just terrible. He says what it is you make good things into bad stuff. He says you make this judgment, make it gall. That means something wrong here. It's not. And you make the idea of being righteous is poisonous. And this is beautiful. Everything that happens, the judgment, you gotta be there. You gotta be present. Who else is going to tell on you? Who else is going to be your judge? If you die and you take your brother with you, you're delivered up with your uncle, and there's no one to speak for you. Goodbye. Back into the gnashing pit with you. That's what happens. That's the way it works. That's interesting stuff to prophesy about. All right, so this other story would be this idea of a king making a wedding plans for his son. And he sends his servants out to go and gather people up to come up. Well, he comes around to the people, and they'd rather do something else. One goes to his farm, and the other one goes to something else. It's showing that he's talking to the lower mind, and he's trying to bring everyone aboard. He's trying to, hey, guys, come on and eat. I got food. I got all kinds of shit. You'll love it. And they kind of like, oh, this is that donkey business. We don't want to change. But anyways, they beat up his servants and stuff like that, and they kill them, and they get really mad. He says, God damn you guys. The king turns around and kills all these people, and he burns down their city. Well, what that means is the people and their city, those are two different things. The city is he just made its grievous head wound. And everybody in that town died. So you have to understand they would be like Nineveh before they got saved. They're all dead. And that makes them enemies. So when you come alive, you become the friends. You love it. I love you. Just welcome home. All right, so when it comes down to it, look, I'm trying to put a little filler in this. They killed the servants. The next line is 6, and it says, now we can have us a wedding. All right, after he has created this vacancy, in the first part of the story. So he said, now we can have it. Now we're ready. And he says, you know what? You guys, you servants, go get some more people. Those people that we invited weren't worthy, So it says, but, just go out there along the highway and bring back anything you can find, whether it be good or bad. Whatever. Fill this place up. I need everything. So this is like the gathering people. This would be the 6th chakra. The gathering of the people. And what do they get? He comes in, the king comes and he finds one man, one guy. And he doesn't have his wedding garments on. He says, a man. That's the key. He saw a man there without his wedding garments. And he says, friend, how did you get in here? What's going on? The guy was speechless. You got to remember that he's dead. The guy is he's asleep. Speechless. So he tells his servants to bound this guy hand and foot, throw him out into the darkness, into there'll be gnashing of teeth. So this is he didn't have his garments on. They were looking at a man. Remember, you cannot, man is really representing the mind and the skin. You're not allowed in here. There was no marriage there. That day didn't even talk about it. You already knew that on the third one. I went to ask these people to come in and nobody wanted to come. That's telling us how this is. We just nobody even gives a damn. Nobody even knows. Nobody gives a damn. That was this idea, and that means, oh, it's gonna change. No, it's not for me. Not for me, Tom. And so this is this idea that many are called and few are chosen. I remember doing this reading not very long ago, and I got a whole different idea on this. I said, yeah, this guy's going to be burned and charburned, but the parable stops here. It stops there. So there's no mention of female in this at all. So you're gone. And likewise, now on this other one, it's not really so bad, but it's showing the idea that there's the 10 virgins. And so this would be like they're all getting ready for the bridegroom to come. And they're going to go and meet the bridegroom. This would be your brother going out, or your son, or something like that, the neighbor. It should be you. It should be, you're going to be the bridegroom. You're sending your servant to do this. So these are other servants. These are the little damsels, the little girls that are working off this chakra system. But there are 10 girls. So we're talking 5 wise ones and 5 foolish ones. Okay. And of course, the wise ones are the ones that are smart. And they got it going down. They got the oil in them. They already know. They thought about it ahead of time. And foolish ones. The 5 is going to be the other girls on the other side. So this story will match the very first one in Amos. The thing is that if you had 5 girls in every house, well, let me tell you, we'll never have that. That's why you have the 5 foolish ones. Didn't make it. Those were the girls that were supplied by the left side of our body. That's the ones that they made. They were foolish. They didn't have it. Oh, can we have it? Can you give us some shit? And they said, hell no, unless we got it for our own selves. All right. So it was the idea that these things had to match up. And when the bridegroom came, they were out. Remember, he comes around 12 o'clock. Around 12 o'clock, ding dong, so the postman is here. So say like this. Another story about you guys didn't make it. You got to go get some more on your own and maybe next time. And the GC comes and they knock on the door, say, Lord, let us in, let us in. Says, surely I do not know you. But go ahead, get your shit together, girls. Make sure you always be ready, because you never know when I'm going to come and knock it. You just never know. So that's a positive story, because it didn't take 10 virgins to push it over. They just needed to have a match. Those 5 girls are going to match up with the 5 guys that are going to be in this meditation. He's going to bring those others to make a good match. All right. So that's the way that story works. All right. So remember, it's all about mom and dad. This is the marriage. You want to couple the mind together. That's what all of these stories are about. And I could just pick any damn story in the whole book, and it'll tell us this underside story. And it's all about marrying mom and dad. What happens? What a beautiful thing happens. Wow. And what poverty exists when you don't do it. So, you're supposed to find that grievous head place and stand in the middle of it. Stand up in it. Because you want to bring it alive. You want to bring it alive. Remember, God's going to have a fight with us. He's going to bring us over onto his side. He's going to, he's going to poke you and poke you. He's trying to get you to come over on his side. And what does he do? He gives you this empty place that's full of food, a place of rest. And, you just wander about, have a great time, enjoy the spoils. It's right in here. Come on over to this other side. I'm going to pour blood on you. I'm going to pour my spirit in copious amounts over and over for the rest of your eternity, the rest of your lives. Something really beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It just sounds so horrid. Like you've got something terrible's going to happen and he's going to rain down blood and pestilence on you. No, it's a beautiful thing. Again, it's the outside guys that make the beautiful side negative and awful. Whereas when you finally get this judgment day, and remember, you need to be alive to do this, or there's no goal. You got to do it all over again. Don't go up and meet God. Don't let your uncle be the guy that drops you off. All right, because you'll just come right back again. So heed some of these interesting stories that we learned because they're very revealing. All right. You know, say, that's a bunch of shit. But this is coming from your Bible. If you believe in this Bible, and we got to believe in this Bible. It's part of this whole thing. You have to believe in this Bible. You have to believe what you hear in this is true. And though you never heard or seen what you heard or listened to what I've done before, it's the truth. It's what we see right there. It's right in front of our eyes. All right. I love you guys. Go get mom and dad hooked up as soon as possible. All right. Learn how to read this Bible and share it with others. Okay. I'll chat with you soon. Love you.